Hello, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. I'm here bike packing for today. Got all my gear here hanging on a tree. I'm in the Farmingdale section of Howell Township, New Jersey. A lot of good history. This is an industrial wasteland tied in with the railroad tracks that were put in the 1800s. Lots of old industries here. You've seen I explored some abandoned properties as well as the old gunpowder factory. And now I'm here on the west side of Main Street. There's a pretty active recycling station here in the distance. You can hear all the trucks. And then ahead you have JCP&L. They have a yard there. But I found this interesting structure here when I was riding through in the winter. It was all snow and ice. I couldn't really get out here. This is like a bog area, and then in it is an old foundation, and it looks like it's been here for a very, very long time. You can see that there's perfectly round holes here in the ground. So this, I believe, was some type of pump station or pump house at one point that since has been abandoned, and it must have serviced the railroad line that runs along the side. There's still the railroad ties there, but the tracks are gone. Actually, I did see some metal tracks in the distance ahead. So this must have been some water pump station. And then from this structure, you can see it's all cinder blocks, so it's definitely turn of the century. There's a little pond or lake there in the distance, and then there's a trough built, and something must be important with these piers. See how there's these wooden piers? Well, that must have been some type of pipe work, and it made a turn there and went down into that lake ahead, as well as went this way. So what I'm going to do, without stepping in too much mud, is walk you through, and you can see these little structures here. These are definitely been here for a very, very long time. So there must have been a pipe that laid across. And you can see how long they've been here. You could actually see the tree is now grown up through where the pipe would have continued through, from this one to the one in the distance, and they continued all the way out and around the corner and back down to this lake. So it must have been some recirculation system, how they could pump water out of this bog area. So I'm going to continue exploring through the woods here. All right, a little bit further down, I found here just a little garbage dump section with lots of old little jars. There's one here. It's pretty common in this area for people to bury their trash. So anybody that collects old bottles, this is a good area for it. So you got two here. Another one over here. I'm not sure how old. It says 8 and 46 after it. These someone's had rescued once before. Similar type of jar. It says 5742 and then a 30 underneath it. There's another one. This really doesn't look too old to me. It's amazing that they're all just sitting here in the woods. So I'm going to start a little collection here next to this tree of all these little jars. Here's a top of a really, really cool one that has broken. And it just keeps going on and on. There's old beer bottles here. So I bet you if you started digging down into the dirt, you'd find a lot more. What I'm looking at is this wooden structure here that pipe must have gone along. And that just continues on straight into the sticker bush land here, which I'm not going to go through. I'm going to see if I can get around it. And look over here, it's just laying here. This is an old gallon jug. Not sure what year it is. It does have a screw top. Cool stuff. Okay, now further in, these wooden piers, they just keep going as far as the eye can see, all the way back into this marshland. I bet you I could get around if I go around the sticker bush area and in. See what I could come up with. Okay, I couldn't get down close enough to that little pond here, but I did find some of the tracks here in the woods. So you got the train tracks here. Then there's this big metal shaft that's part of the train line. There's some mechanical device, and it's got like a drive shaft end on it. If you go into the woods a little bit, you can see here the old railroad ties all piled up, and then some type of old switch box or control box as part of the train. So there must have been sides to it and a front that had hinges on it. It's got a metal roof to it. And in the distance, there's just a whole bunch more train tracks there. So there must have been a lot of switch tracks here for whatever industry they were working. There's a pile of railroad ties and concrete. There's an old plant in the distance. It does look abandoned. You can see there all the train tracks in the woods. There's some more here in this pit. The railroad was a very important industry or device to link the industries in the Jersey Shore area in the early 1900s and late 1800s. This is piles and piles of railroad ties. You have a little track piece sticking out of the earth here. This pile of concrete. Lots of really, really cool things back here. I'm going to continue exploring this area. Okay, along the railroad track there's this big warehouse here. On this side is an abandoned structure. It's about 20 foot tall, about 150 foot long. Got old timbers mixed with new dimensional lumber, plywood, It looks like maybe it would have been redone about 20 years ago and then taken out of service. There's an old concrete foundation in the distance where a building must have existed at one point and has been taken down. Let's go explore this metal one now. Yeah, the metal structure is a little bit newer than the one we were just in overall. But it's got a concrete floor. About the same height, 20 foot tall. And we got a bike frame here. Someone stripped of its parts. And this side's all blown out. A stack here of plywood and pallets. There's a fence back behind. So I'm unsure what they use this for and why it's abandoned. But in the distance behind, there looks like some more garbage and debris. Try to explore that if it's not too overgrown. I'm not sure how they spray painted all the way up there. I have here an interesting use for construction adhesive, and there's hundreds of nuts and bolts here on the ground. Nails. So this looks like it was maybe like JCP&L's warehouse, which they don't use anymore, because I see they have another facility with similar attributes down the way a little bit. So maybe they stored their trucks in here when they weren't using them. Well, folks, I believe I have reached the end of the line here. Private property, there's a fence, big mound of dirt. Looks like they use it as some type of gun range. There's a cell phone tower in the distance. And this is the property behind the abandoned structure, the metal structure we're just in. It's so overgrown, there's lots of garbage and big piles of bricks, so there was some structures there at one point. Hope you enjoyed my adventure here in Farmingdale, New Jersey. It is an industrial wasteland. This is a crumbling industry, this area. It's absolutely beautiful. I love all the treasures that are in this town. Please like this video, comment, share, subscribe. I'd love it. I'll see you soon.